Oh, that's right. Yeah. You told me it's about 3, yeah.
What?
He suggests I should vote on these minutes and we can put them on together.
And you know what, I'll pull them because they didn't go to everybody for whatever reason. I don't know how that happened. And I have some form we're going to bring back at the next meeting.
Oh,
So that would take care of that.
okay, great.
Don't know.
And then if you want, I won't put that on consent next time.
He had to run to his office. Dave, yeah.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. Liz?
You want to do 30
Oh, sorry. Report from the closed session.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. City Council is in closed session this evening on public employee performance evaluation, clerk administrator, and there's no action to report.
You know there's a little echo here.
Yeah, there it is. Those doors are open.
Because the door's
Oh.
open.
Roll call, please, Liz.
Councilmembers Singleton,
Here.
Payne. Present. Campion.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Powers.
Here. We will have a moment of silent prayer, and after that we'll have the flag salute by the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts.
Color guard attention. Color guard advance. Color guard halt. Will the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard post colors. Color guard dismissed.
Good job, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, council, are there any agenda approval, additions, and/or deletions?
Oh, me. I need to pull the minutes from the May 13th meeting to come back at our next council meeting of June 4th.
Of the May 15th? Okay.
E1. You pull up E1 or just those minutes?
Just the May 13th minutes. So the first item still stands on consent, just minus those set of minutes.
Okay, Liz, would you please read the video statement?
This meeting of the Galt City Council is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.saxmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A DVD copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Thank you. And Inez, I think that you have a new employee that you'd like to introduce to the city.
Yes. It is with great pleasure that I introduce the first Deputy Finance Director for the City of Galt, Mike Sylvia. Mike, why don't you come on up, and I have a couple more words to say about you. Mike actually joined us last Monday on May 13th. He holds a master's degree in business administration with a financial management concentration. And last year he earned the distinction of being one of 281 certified public finance officers in the U.S. and Canada, which is a certification program for GFOA, and it requires 5 tests on different disciplines of government finance. So with that, I introduce to the community Mike Sylvia.
Thanks, Inez. I just want to thank everyone for the welcoming gestures that I've had so far. Look forward to working with council and citizens and staff moving forward to the future with the continued success in the City of Galt. Thank you very much.
Thank you and welcome.
No, you're
Yeah, you're just number 2 now, Steve. Look out. Okay, we're into presentations, please, and we have the Commission on Aging Annual Report.
Thank you. Hi. My name is Alvin Roberts. I'm a commissioner on the Commission on Aging. This isn't an annual report. I'm sorry. It's just a quick update. I see the annual report is, we'd like to give it to you in August if we could. I have some handouts here I'd like to give you if I could, if it's possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Basically what I want to talk to you about is we have our senior games. You'll see it on the flyer there. It's coming up here June 6th, excuse me, June 6th. This is just an update of what we're doing. And then we have we've completed our Commission on Aging Resource Manual. Remember, you're sponsoring all this, paying for all this, so we want you to know we're doing something. And then I just recap the duties that we have here, what we're chartered to do, not do. And then I had some suggestions on the Commission on Aging, maybe interface with, say, Sacramento County Adult Aging and Commission. I know we've tried it in the past, but it seems like something we should be doing somehow, some way involved in. And I'm just trying to throw this out there and see what happens. And then, of course, May is Older Americans Month. And I hope next year that we can get we'll get more celebration out of it, more exposure for it. Again, our annual report, we expect to get it to you in August, and that'll be a complete report with everything in there. And that's about it, other than I'm just trying to bring you up to date. Is there any questions, any feedback?
This is very nice.
Oh, it is very
And,
nice.
very nice job, and I think that we'll all be seeing you. Us that can't attend will be at the senior games.
Great.
And you are the newest member, so
I
I guess
am.
that was your first throwing into the fire was to get up there and have to.
I think it's great. I mean, it made me go do some homework to find out what's going on, and that was good.
Mayor, could I ask him to introduce the other commissioners?
Oh, sure, certainly. We have Aggie. Christine? Sharon, I'm sorry, Sharon. You can see I'm new. I'm real new.
Thank you.
Any questions at all? Love to feedback. Nope. Nope. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have the Measure R Oversight Committee Annual Report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Tonight to present the report is the Chair of the Measure R Committee, Tony Lara.
Thank you. And with me is Dave, one of our senior members. Dave, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Dave Dogman. Been on the Measure R Committee. This is my 4th year. So I was so grateful for the reappointment. I want to thank you again.
He comes every time. So you have before you the annual report prepared by the Chief of the Measure R funding, which we have reviewed on a quarterly basis for the past fiscal year. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those for you. Otherwise, we have everything according to ordinance, and we're here to present to you this report, or to bring you the report and see if you have any questions regarding any of the information.
Does anybody have a report? I don't think we have a report.
We didn't get a report. Yeah. No, no report. I don't have one. Yeah.
I guess you got to give it to us.
Okay. So I thought it was part of your packet. So I will read to you. Basically, it's a 3-paragraph, real basic. If that's okay? Okay. So the Measure R Oversight Committee Annual Report to City Council is mandated in Section 3.40.160, Section C. The ordinance directs that in part the Citizen Oversight Committee shall issue an annual report of their findings to the City Council and to the people. The Citizens Oversight Committee Annual Report is subject to the review and approval of the City Council. The committee shall confine its review specifically to the review to the revenues generated pursuant to this ordinance. So on January 23rd, 2013, the Oversight Committee met to review the Fund 47, the Measure R Fund, for the fiscal year 2011-2012. The committee was provided year-end documents, which I have here, and I don't know, obviously you don't have them, is that correct?
Correct.
I don't know what to do about that at this point. I can give them to you, and then you guys, if you want to have any questions about them. Okay, prepared by the Finance Department. Questions were then solicited from the committee members and the public. Presentation indicated that at the end of the fiscal year 2011-2012, Fund 47 had a full balance of $911,137. End of year finance documents also indicated that revenues from most sources totaled $1,023,657. Expenditures totaled $748,962, and cash on hand totaled $918,775.85. So basically, our report to you is that all the information that was presented to us for the past year was accurate according to the fund and the ordinance. And if you have any questions, I could answer those, but obviously if you don't have the report.
It was prepared by the Finance Department.
Correct.
And approved by the Measure R Committee.
I'm saying that question there. I don't know what was provided, so, I mean, I would like to say we prepared the report, but I'm not sure what was provided.
Well, I will say that on the staff report, it has a report attached as reviewed by the Independent Accounting Corporation of Mays and Associates, and no findings related to Fund 47 were noted.
It sounds like what you received was information from the annual financial statements, the audit, the capital. So that's what it sounds like. But again,
that must be the staff report that went to the committee. Is that what we're talking about?
What it should have been, according to my understanding from what we did last year also, is the summary of the fiscal funds that went into the Measure R fund, which is Fund 47, and a summary of totals, expenditures, and balances.
What is presented here is a page from the annual financial statements, the basic financial statements for the city, and this is presenting the revenues for Measure R, Fund 47, and the expenditures, and it shows the ending fund balance based on the numbers that were cited just earlier this evening. So this is a reproduction of that document.
I would ask, is this online? Is it available for the public to review,
The summary,
the report?
this is provided, Chief, would you be able to answer that?
The CAFR is available online.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, it is. It's the CAFR, which is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the audit that we do on an annual basis, is available on the city's website.
So is it easily accessible for any citizen to go and find just information about the Measure R report? Or is it in that whole stack of papers?
What document are you reading from? Maybe that would provide some.
I am reading the summary page.
Yeah, who's it from and to?
Okay, this is from Measure R Oversight Committee prepared by the Chief. Subject is Measure R Oversight Committee Annual Report. And obviously, it's the annual report that we provide, the committee provides the City Council.
That's the report you'd like to see online. Is that what you're talking about?
I think it would be.
I think it'd be a good, yeah, just that report with the attachments.
So we can put that online. We can put it under the police department as well as the finance department, because people might go to different places looking for the financial information.
And I'm sorry I didn't make copies of this. It was my understanding that you were going to have this ahead of time.
Well, those copies are hard to read. They're behind that anyway.
Yeah,
So.
well, the summary is not. And I can leave the summary with you if you like. So.
Those are.
Okay. Anything else that I could answer, or?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know you guys do a good job, and you're very diligent in coming to all the meetings, and so we thank you for doing that for us.
And there is a recommendation to review and approve the Measure R Oversight Committee annual report as presented.
Where?
Maybe we should put it on.
But it's not on the
Not on
agenda for
on
action.
the meeting?
Yeah. Mayor, my recommendation would be that we put it on the consent calendar for the next meeting so that the council could then act on the report, and then they would have a copy of it to review prior to voting on it.
We'll bring it back.
I would make that motion.
Is that, okay, Chief, you got that?
No, well, motion, okay.
Okay. Now we're at public comment mode.
We're doing human resource.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have an edition of the Matrix study, or Human Resources presentation, Neo-Government Online Application Process.
Musical chairs tonight.
It's been a year since I've made a presentation, and we didn't have this last year. So, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm going to do the presentation because each department presents information about different things within their department every year, and this year, my presentation is on NeoGov Insight Online Application Process. A little bit about NeoGov. They're the company that created this process. It's an automated applicant screening and hiring process system. It's 100% public agency, so it's only public sector, and it's 100% web-based. And currently there are more than 525 public agencies using the same program, and they process, and this is unbelievable, like over 10 million applications per year. And the biggest agency that uses the online process is South Carolina, and they process over 500,000 applications, and I thought we were busy. So a little bit about the process. What we can do, as you know, we accept online applications, and that's for every position that we have open within the city, full-time and part-time. Also a part of the process is that it automatically will post our openings to our website, and then it also goes on governmentjobs.com. which is a website that anybody can access, and it's typically for individuals that are wanting to work in a public agency. Other parts of the program is that we can customize job applications. So even though they apply online, there might be different applications. Like right now we have temporary positions available through the SOAR program. So we shortened the application and made it a little bit, you know, not as detailed as what we look for a regular full-time position. We also have the capability, which we use quite a bit through this process, is that we ask supplemental questions for each job opening. So sometimes when we will open a position, we may get 100 applications. So what we do is we ask specific job questions to help us screen out the applicants, to really kind of drill down to really what their experience is, and it helps us kind of find out who the best match is for our position. Another part of this program is that it's an applicant self-service portal. So the applicants can go online, they can fill out one application, keep it in their file, and use it for all, you know, a variety of different jobs. They can use it for different agencies. So it's a convenience for the applicant as well as the city. In addition, applicants can go on to any website, and if we have it set up, which we have for most of our jobs, is that if the individual says, well, I want to be a police officer, but we don't have a police officer opening right now, that example, because we have those, they just fill out some information, and it's basically a job interest card. So once I open that recruitment, they get an email saying that job is now open, so you can apply for it. So it's kind of a nice outreach. In addition, a part of the program is that all of our class specifications are on the city's website. That helps the candidate know, not only by looking at the job posting, but they can look at the full job description. Attached to that would be the salary and also the benefits. And this is a plus for the city because we get a lot of requests for job descriptions and salary information. And so it's nice that it's just available to anyone on our website. For the HR and management side, it's great because we can pre-screen applicants automatically. We can put together a little template and screen out people if we're looking for a bachelor's degree. We don't have to look through every application. Once they answer a certain question, that will tell us that they're going to be moved on into the candidates that we want to see. It helps us configure different hurdles and weights when we're taking a candidate through the process. So first is the application review, then they may have an oral board interview, the subject matter expert. So through each step of the process, we can create that prior to the job opening. Again, it manages questions for us, education experience scoring. When we have our oral boards, it maintains all of our scores. We have subject matter experts that will help us review the application. So it's quite a robust system. It helps us track a lot of different information. Again, test statistics, written, oral panel, and performance test scheduling. We can do all of our scheduling online. We can go in and set up the test location, and then we send out the email, and it goes directly to the individual. We don't have to worry about calling anyone or sending out hard copies. It also has applicant self-scheduling. So what we can do is we're going to have interviews next Wednesday. I set up the whole schedule. I send the email out, and then our candidates that are accepted into the process just go online, and then they choose their own interview time, which is really good because sometimes when we would be scheduling for them, it wouldn't really work into their actual work schedule or whatever it is. So this gives them an opportunity to choose a time that works best for them. Okay, let's see. Again, the applicant tracking is a great part of it because we can, we have some positions that, as I mentioned, we will get 100 applications. Well, we can track them and see how every candidate did in the initial application process, maybe the written exam, and again, the oral board. Candidates can check their status of their application, And then also, I mean, there's just a variety of things that we can manage and keep track of through our application process, and that's just a few of them. Once the candidates have been through the application process and the testing process, we typically establish an eligibility list, and the department heads will interview from the eligibility list, and we refer them. The HR department will take all the scores, establish a list, and then send the information to the departments. And the departments can access that information, and they can set up their own interviews. And that leads us into the online hiring managers portal. The managers can look at the referred candidates, they look at the applications, they can generate their own notices, they can schedule their own interviews the same way that HR can, and then they can track background process. And it's a great way for the departments to interact, because like with the police department right now, we've been working quite closely together, and we can find out, you know, even if someone's in the background or in the poly or whatever, well, that department will make those notes, and then we can go in HR and access and see where these people are in the process. So it's pretty good. I mean, it works out really well. Let's see. It also, you know, we input all this information, and then there's a lot of ways of getting it back out. There's more than 90 standard reports. We can create ad hoc reports. We can trace or track our EEO, our time to hire, our adverse impact. We can look at different positions and say, okay, was there a bottleneck? Where in the process was there a holdup? Or, you know, so it's kind of a good way or resource for analyzing our selection process. Just a couple more slides just to show you if someone goes on our website, that's what they would be looking at for our class specifications. I know it's really hard to tell, but they would just click on like accounting assistant, and then that job spec would come out or come up. When they're looking for a position, this is only a part of it, but that's what a job posting would look like. What I do when I find out that a department is looking for wants to fill a position, I create a job posting, and that is what actually goes on the website when they're looking to apply the position. That's the exam plan that HR uses, that I would first do the job posting. We keep track of where we advertise, because a lot of times we typically think that, for example, a newspaper is the best place to advertise. Well, we find after tracking all of this, most of our candidates don't come from the newspaper. They come from online sources. So this is a great way to track cost and really where our applicants are coming from. We also set up our evaluation step. We review applications, then we have subject matter experts, and those are the people in the department that really look at the application to see if the person really has the experience and the qualifications that we're looking for, and then so on and so forth. So that is really kind of setting out how you're going to fill your position, and we do that for everyone that is open. Again, reports and information that we can obtain from the NeoGov Insight program. And this is what our candidate looks like, our candidate's part looks like. To apply for a position here, they need to create a government jobs account. That's where they would get started. They want to look for jobs. That's kind of what their front page would look like. And then they can even drill down to say what state they want to work in, what position, and so on and so forth. So it can get pretty detailed. That's an online application. And the person there is saying that would they relocate, and they said no way, because they love Galt, just to, if you see that up there. And I think that kind of covers everything that I wanted to present to you. Any questions?
To get onto this government site, this is something that's available on our website, the city's website, or how do you get to
That's a good question, because it's not on our, it's on our website, but it just, that would probably be able to answer this better. It's not really housed here, but it matches the look of our website. So the candidate doesn't really know that they're going to another website.
So if you go to this governmentjobs.com, let's say you're a police officer and you're looking to move somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go in, if you go in there and fill it out under governmentjobs.com, then does it come up where everybody's looking for police officers?
Everyone that is a part of the NeoGov Insight. So yeah, so you can just type in police officer, and then all of the jobs that are open for police officer you can take a look at and see, or you can narrow it down to, you know, I just want to work in California, I just want to work in Galt or whatever.
So this is just one form of advertising you're using. You mentioned newspapers. Are you using any other forms or?
We do, I mean, we occasionally use newspapers, but not as much anymore. For police officers, for example, great is Post,
Right.
Horak. When we advertise for finance, deputy finance director, the CFMO, it's usually the professional websites that we find the most candidates, aside from our own website. Really, through government jobs and through our website is the best.
So they've really gotten away from any sort of paper, hard copy advertising then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, we do it occasionally, but I don't like to use it that often because we really don't. It's very expensive, and we don't get very many candidates that way.
And we landed him how? Through that website. Thank you.
See, there's
So
proof
there
right
you
there.
have proof in the footage.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Paula. More questions,
Very good.
anyone?
No, I'm done.
Okay, now we're going to the matrix study. Chief Bullitt?
Good evening. Several weeks ago, Councilmember Payne brought up the fact in council that she would like to have a kind of a review as far as the matrix study. The city commissioned a company called the Matrix Consulting Group and to conduct a management and staffing study of the police department. And they wanted to find out as far as operations, staffing, organizational structure, and management. And the study actually started in January of 2007 or 2006 and was presented in 2007. The scope of work for the Matrix company as far as for the city of Galt was the evaluation of CFS, which is calls for service. They wanted to look at the investigative division, detectives, and the dispatch workload. Wanted to know how resources were deployed and utilized, analyzing current operation opportunities to improve delivery of service for the citizens of Galt. Current management systems, approaches to overseeing and controlling the operation, and feasibility as far as different approaches to police service. Their method of analysis was to talk to the city manager at the time, the mayor, 3 of the 4 council members, police command staff, selected aligned personnel, and they also distributed a confidential employee survey. They collected data off the CAD, which is a computer-aided dispatch system, and also off a records management system. Reviewed different documents as far as the budget, policy procedures, the MOU as far as the police department, and other documents. They came back with several recommendations as far as the study. Had to do with staffing and patrol, patrol schedule, traffic enforcement, SWAT, and several other things that are listed above, including dispatch services, record management, training coordination as far as in the police department, recruiting, hiring, which we were just talking about. Also case tracking, management operations, department management. In 2007, the recommendation that they made was that they would like to see 45% level of activity as far as proactive activity. And what is that? Basically, 45% of an officer's time should be available to, in fact, do proactive enforcement where they're not answering calls for service. There's a little bit different theory that's come into view actually before 2007, and it comes up with city being divided into 33% of your time being for community policing type projects, 33% of your time answering calls, and 33% of your time working on problem-oriented policing or trying to solve problems. That's just kind of a side to that. They also said that we should fund 2 additional sergeants so that you could have 24-hour supervision as far as coverage on the street. One of the reasons why is liability issues as far as having a supervisor and not just having the officer with no supervision on the street. At that time, we were sitting there looking at 1 lieutenant, 1 administrative sergeant, 4 sergeants, 13 officers, and 1.5 or 1.5 part-time officers, and two traffic officers, 2 people on motors. We had a total of 22.5. Currently, we have 1 lieutenant in charge of patrol. That individual retired on 4/31 of this year, and we're in the recruitment process. In fact, we have interviews with the top 4 candidates, one of them being the audience today, that we'll be interviewing as far as part of the process. We also have 6 field sergeants, and we don't have the administrative sergeant anymore. That was changed, and they were put into the field. So there's 6 teams, and there's 1 sergeant running each one of those teams. And then there's 15 officers and 1 traffic officer with a total of 23. The names that you see underneath are positions that we currently have available and officers that were here and left for different reasons. The newest one being Officer Nino, who left us on the 14th of May. Patrol schedule, one of the recommendations was that the 10-hour shift was not the best as far as to allocate manpower, and they suggested that we go to an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift. A lot of departments have the 12-hour shift, and they work 4 12-hour days, and then they go off and they come back and they work 4 4-hour days, coming up with a total of 84 hours as far as work. One of the problems as far as doing anything with this recommendation is that they're guaranteed, the police department as far as the officers are guaranteed a 10-hour shift for their MOU or their memo of understanding regarding their contract as far as how it is. I will tell you that I am really in favor of a 12-hour shift and have talked to people within the association regarding this issue and also to the city manager to see what we could do as far as to evaluate that. What does that do? If you have 2 12-hour shifts, you're covering the entire 24 hours. And a span of control is basically what the supervisor is supervising. So instead of supervising 2 officers or 3 officers, they end up supervising 4 officers at one time. And the majority of departments usually have something, even smaller ones, where the span of control as far as a supervisor is more people that they're supervising. Also, it increased the number of officers available as far as on the street. And then the other thing is it allows the establishment of a proactive team. What does that mean? When someone from council calls me up regarding something as far as an issue that they're being called upon by citizens, I actually have a team that I can put forth to do that. And it doesn't take anybody off the patrol duties. We actually have a team that runs around and does those things, and that's what I would be looking for. But currently, because of the MOU, we can't do that.
When will that come back for consideration?
I think there are contract negotiations in 2014. So July 1, roughly about a year from now. Another recommendation they made in 2007 was they wanted to increase the number of hazardous vehicle citations. Back then in 2007, there was 271 vehicle stops. This is by traffic, not by everybody on the street. This is the traffic officer, the person using on a motorcycle. Wrote 114 citations, gave about 108 warnings, and did about 49. Other would be towed vehicles, arrests at the scene, stuff like that. There was 49 of those. Current for 2012, 737 citations, 530, verbal warnings 102, and the others is 105. So you can see there's a serious increase. That's what they were looking for, and their recommendation was an increase in that.
And excuse me, real quick, Chief. Do we have any certain particular area where some of these increased stops have were accumulated? Because I know I hear a lot of them going off over by our Galt market.
It's actually all over town, and what we have is we have problem areas that we address, such as the one you're talking about, the Galt market, as far as people coming in there. Also, we work on what would be called the service request. You call me as a citizen and tell me that Elman Sparrow's got a problem with people running the stop sign, so we assign it to the traffic officer. He goes, sits there, makes a response, issues citations or warnings depending on what's warranted. And then we come back and say, okay, we can pull them out of the area. One of the major problems we have is on Pringle Way. It's no trucks on there. And so we repeatedly go back to Pringle Way trying to do something regarding the trucks. So that's how we usually work as far as the locations we go to. If we have an area that has a high accidents, that's another area that we end up working.
I'm sorry, what did you say other was under current 2012, the fourth category? What does that stand for?
The other thing could be that we make a stop, we end up on an arrest, somebody has something in the vehicle, alcohol, drugs, don't have a license, or there's a warrant arrest or something like that. That would be all the other classifications. Recommendation back in 2007 was to explore the feasibility of forming a regional SWAT team or contracting with the Sheriff's Department for SWAT-type services. What SWAT services? Basically, any kind of hazardous situation, from serving warrants to, in fact, responding to barricaded suspects, or some of the stuff that we've seen recently within the city regarding major incidents.
Did they come out when we had the incident with the animal control officer?
Yes, they did. In fact, we had not only our team, as far as the combined Elk Grove and Galt SWAT team, we had the Sacramento Sheriff's SWAT team come in, and then we also had, because they have a special vehicle, which is called the Bearcat, we had the Sacramento Police Department SWAT team come in. With that, the Sacramento SWAT team was the first one, as far as we used that to evacuate people out of the area, because we knew that we had the armed suspect inside, and so we used that vehicle to get the people out of the area to make sure that they were secure. And then we ended up sitting on it with our team all night, and to be perfectly honest with you, if it hadn't occurred the way it happened, and if you don't recall, basically early in the morning, we were able to kind of trick him downstairs. We ended up taking him into custody, but we were about ready to relieve our Galt and Elk Grove SWAT team, and they would have been replaced by the Sacramento Sheriff SWAT team. And the reason being is because when you're on a position for hour after hour, there's a big fatigue factor, and you want the sharpest people on a scene like that to be able to respond to anything that might occur.
Did you say the Sacramento SWAT team responded before the Galt?
No.
Okay.
What it was is we were there. They came because they have this armored vehicle, which is called the Bearcat, and that armored vehicle was used to protect the people that we were pulling out of the houses around the area. So Sacramento SWAT team wasn't there until sometime later. We currently have, as I've been talking about, we have the SWAT team from Elk Grove and Galt combined. We currently have 2 officers on that team. One of them is Officer Barney, the other one is Officer Ton, and we use them for high-risk warrants and critical incidents. And they train with the SWAT team twice a month. When we have our double day on Wednesday, they're out training as far as a unit altogether at some location, practicing or shooting or whatever the training is for that period of time.
How long has Officer Barney been on that team? Do you know?
He's been on there roughly a year.
A year?
One of the issues we had with Officer Barney was trying to find him a actual SWAT school to go to. He actually finished his 2-week SWAT school, I believe it was last Friday. Talked to him, and he was just finishing it up. So he is now totally certified. What he was doing before is basically what we call perimeter work on the outside, and not on an entry team, people who actually go inside. So he's now, and he will probably progress now into being one of the entry team members.
Thank you.
Service Bureau, which is detectives, dispatch, and evidence and records. We had 17 people in there in 2007. We had 1 lieutenant, the dispatch records manager, 7 dispatchers, and they have the designation of also being a community service officer, CSO, records clerk, property evidence clerk, school resource officer, 4 detectives, and 1 crime prevention coordinator. Now the school resource officer was an individual who wasn't a full-time sworn police officer back in 2007, and that's been changed, and currently we're up to 17.5 in that division. We still run by a lieutenant. That's Lieutenant Vasuzzi. We still have the records manager. We have 6 dispatchers, CSO, 1 lead dispatcher, and we just had somebody who just finished their process, and she'll be coming on board on June 10th. So we're looking just about 2 weeks away for her. We've increased records clerk to 1.5. There seems to be a mistake on there. It's not 1.5, it's 1.75 because that individual that we have part-time is actually working 30 hours. We have 4 detectives, 1 school resource officer, 1 gang narcotic detective, and 1 crime prevention officer, giving us a total of 17.5.
So is that the impropriety on mine? It says 20.75 because that number.
There was a change in these slides, and I don't know what happened. The one that you have, as far as in your hand, is the more correct one. And I'll go back to the next slide and make sure that I have the figures correct.
The one that you have is accurate. The one up here doesn't show the vacant position.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. That's what I figured.
And I think it left off the property evidence technician position as well.
Correct. It's on the slide that was not in there, and I gave you a total of 20.75, with 1 lieutenant, 1 dispatch record manager, 1 lead dispatcher, 8 dispatch CSOs, with the one that's coming on board, and 1.75 records clerk.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
And we currently have the 2 vacant positions, which, like I say, one of them will be filled on June 10th when the new person comes on board. Dispatch services call documentation. Recommendation was to provide training for dispatchers and officers regarding documentation of calls for service and self-initiated activity. With council's approval to buy the RIM system, which came online September 29th of 2012, most of these issues that are going to come up were addressed. One thing, dispatch are trained for California Post approved training manual, which is called Communication Training Officers. It's similar to the FTO process of field training officers for police officers. They have the same thing, so we train to the specifications and requirements of California Post regarding the communication officers, which would be dispatchers. And their entry into calls and services, self-initiated activity, is listed in the training manual, and it's actually a required skill that they have to master to become, in fact, a dispatcher. So the recommendation is actually being handled by the training and also by the RIM system, because you can't force some of the information into the system. It has to be accurate before the system will, in fact, take it. And if you remember the program that we had here as far as the presentation, that's some of the things we were talking about as far as RIMs and the real advantage to having that. Records management, they recommended that records develop a reporting system that provides manager with sufficient data for more effective managing their function. And again, that is done by RIMs. The HDE system was a good system in its day, but kind of obsolete now. This RIM system, in fact, we can go into what we call CAN reports, and I can tell you how much time an officer spends as far as, we go back to that 45% that we're talking about. We come back and say this is how much time they're spending on calls, what they're doing, how much free time they have. We can come back and find out where they're located, all the different things that, some of that was available in the old HTE system, but is readily available for the officers, the supervisors, and for myself, as far as to look on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to find out, in fact, what the officers are doing and what's occurring. Training coordination, they made some recommendations regarding the admin sergeant, which went away, and is now being handled by the different sergeants who are in the field. Each sergeant has different responsibility, and one of them, Sergeant Diedrichson, actually has the administrative function regarding the training coordination. We actually sent him to post-training manager school, which means that he has been trained in the proper procedure as far as managing things regarding training.
Can I ask you, what was the administrative sergeant, what was his duties? Why was that suggested that we have?
Unfortunately, I wasn't here at that time, but usually administrative sergeant handles internal affairs investigations, does special events, does a lot of stuff within the department, which gives them some additional skills for succession planning, succession management. And if I was able to do some stuff regarding the 12 hours, I would in fact bring that administrative sergeant back with one of the 6 sergeants we have to be able to give them skills that they might be able to progress on to a higher rank here or somewhere else as far as being a lieutenant. So I really can't tell you what they were using them for, but that's kind of standard in our industry regarding what an administrative sergeant actually does.
So this would be something you'd like to see come back?
Yes, ma'am.
If possible?
Yes. And as I stated, the admin sergeant doesn't exist anymore. It's all been transitioned to the field sergeant. Training coordination is Sergeant Diedrichson, and he tracks all the training. He arranges for all the training for all the officers, and so that we can in fact meet all post requirements for the training for the year. And now all reports, which were approved by one sergeant, being approved by the sergeants that are in the field who supervise the individual officers, so they know what kind of work their officers are in fact doing because they're working alongside of them, and now they're reviewing their reports. Hiring, recruiting, obviously we didn't have the NeoGov back then, which is a real asset to us. But they made some recommendations that we should be at job fairs, career days at local colleges as far as trying to recruit. We are recruiting. We use NeoGov. We use different things regarding the police department, regarding publications. PORAC is a big one, which is the law enforcement thing for the majority of officers within the state of California and also the state of Nevada, so that you can put an ad in there, and most of the people receive this through their dues paying for the PORAC Association, so they see the ads. And I know that Paula uses that quite frequently. We also do stuff as far as Academy bulletin boards, websites, word of mouth. And this right here, as far as Sacramento, they have an Academy class graduating on June 20th, and we've made arrangements. We'll be there on Thursday. And then we have one in Napa Valley. I think they graduate the 26th of June, and we'll be talking to them also. So we're actively out there trying to find people as far as bringing them to Galt for officers as far as Academy graduates.
And how many are we looking for now at this point?
Well, we have hired 2, lost 1. We lost Officer Nino on the 14th. I believe it's 6 that we're looking for. We have 3 in background that hopefully they'll be done shortly. So we've got, another 3 we have to go. But one of the problems we're having, and it's we went from people laying off officers to every department starting to hire officers. So you have background investigators we pay to do backgrounds, who are doing backgrounds for Citrus Heights, Sacramento, and all these other agencies. So there's a long line. We actually had it arranged for 3 of our people to go to background school. That was Lieutenant Vasuzzi. He's already had that, but it was a refresher. Sergeant Diedrichson and Sylvia Coelho, who is currently the SRO, and since school is going to end, we figured that we could put her toward the backgrounds, and she's got her first background that she's working on currently, which will probably go into full speed as soon as she comes out. So we're trying to be more self-sufficient and not going out to other agencies, or not other agencies, but independent contractors to, in fact, have them do our backgrounds for us.
Save a little money.
The school resource officer was converted to a regular position, and that was done with a Measure R funding. It's rotated twice. Officer Flutie had it for the first 2 years, and now Officer Coelho has it. It's been assigned now, I think, since January, if I remember correctly. And in an expenditure plan that we've been going back and forth and talked to the manager about, the number one thing I would like to do when we meet the 7-officer threshold is to have a second SRO. We're also in the process of completing a grant, and that's our emphasis to see if we can have the federal government, who we're applying to the grant for, fund an SRO. I think it's very important to have law enforcement in the schools. I think they have independent problems. We've seen some of them, and we're trying to do everything we can as far as to get a second one. And there's always a possibility, if we were able to get that grant, that we might be able to increase it more than that. Detectives, they should be trained to use the computerized case management system to improve their investigation. Again, 2007. When we came out with a RIM system, everybody in the department had to go through the training. So they have the availability I've talked about before to track crime, get crime data, access all the different reports that they couldn't. They had to go through somebody that can actually do it from the computer. And go back to what we said as far as the CAN reports. There's also alerts and displays that they can have, which will automatically remind them. We've been working with some stuff with the company and give them some of our wish lists as far as what we'd like to see in their next version. And it appears that one of the things we suggested was, in fact, going to be part of the next system in their upgrade to the next version. Management operations, they wanted to talk about calls for service. They wanted performance measurements and data to track through the CAD system, self-initiated activity, traffic safety, and what have you. Again, we go back. That's all being accomplished now for CAD. I had a request regarding how many citations were written, and we actually had it in a very short period of time for an area. We also knew how much time that our traffic officer was spending there, basically off one of these reports. And department management, more formal approach toward managing, developing performance measures, and establishing annual goals for the police department. We've developed what we call core competencies, and that's kind of going on line with what POST has for both supervisors and officers. We discussed this with all the supervisors in April of last year when we had a team building. And we developed a list of expectation for the supervisors, and mostly is their responsibility and their accountability for the people in the street. We've established a 3-beat system. Now, what's a 3-beat system? If you have 3 officers on the street, they're responsible for 1 beat, and they're not just driving around all over town trying to find something. They're responsible within their beat, and they should be able to know the citizens and or the business owners, and the citizens should be able to meet them instead of not knowing who their local beat officer is. And we're trying to work toward the goals as far as in line with whatever the council's priorities are. So it's more driven by what we want to see. One of the things I learned a long time ago, if it isn't a priority for the people within the neighborhood, why are we expending a lot of effort in it? You need to get contact with the public. You need to find out what they think is important to them, and then you need to address that. So that's what we're trying to do. Any questions?
I have a comment. Okay. I appreciate your presentation, and I wanted to ask you, what's your feeling about the matrix study? Do you feel like it's something that we should continue to try to follow? You did mention a couple of changes that you thought would be better.
Well, you're looking at a study that's 7+ years old.
Mm-hmm.
And in our business, it changed quite rapidly regarding techniques and things we use. So it's a little out of date, but there are some interesting things as far as, say, the 10-hour shift versus a 12-hour shift. I came from a county not too far from here, and in that county, every agency there worked a 12 or 12-hour shift. So it actually put more people on the street during that 12-hour period. There are some issues with a 12-hour shift, one of the things being the fact as far as sleep deprivation and how many days you can go at 12 hours, and then you throw in court and some other things. It gets very tiring. But Citrus Heights is on a 12.5-hour shift. Sacramento County, I believe, is on a 12-hour shift. So that would be something that I think we should look at. And way back then in 2007, they were saying the same thing, because that was just kind of a synopsis as far as what they said. They went into the fact as far as being more desirable and our availability as far as to recruit people, knowing that a 12-hour shift was more desirable than, in fact, a 10-hour. So to answer your question, a lot of things are out of date. Some of the things are still good. But I think some of the direction we're going now as far as what we're trying to do as far as the department will be better for Galt in the years to come.
One of the things I like about it is that it gives us an organized picture of how our department operates. And I wonder, at this point, are we pretty much in compliance with it, or we're in the process of trying to get there, especially as far as staffing is concerned?
Staffing-wise is a problem. That's going to be a problem. You're looking at the city of Oakland hiring 300 people. You've got other departments around here hiring. We've had some of our officers apply with Citrus Heights and some of the other agencies. You're looking at different issues, 12-hour shifts, maybe compensation. We pay Social Security. A lot of these other agencies don't. So we are going to be the same thing when this study was coming about and them talking about recruiting is the same issue I think we're facing today. People aren't laying off. They're all trying to hire, and we're competing for the same individuals. I think with the thing as far as Sacramento, for the people who are not affiliated, we have a chance as far as picking them up. How long they stay with us, I don't know.
And for the record, when was the last time we had our evidence room audited? I know you did report on it. I'd like to.
Our evidence room was audited within the first 3 months, I think, after I got here. One of the biggest things as far as evidence, there's property, money, and drugs, and you need to make sure that you audit it quite frequently. So that was done, and kind of like the finance, there's no findings regarding the issue as far as anything missing, nothing out of place or anything else. So that was done, and it was done not by people in-house. We actually hired somebody from outside to do that. And we will continue to do as far as audit other things regarding equipment within the police department to make sure we have what we're supposed to have and all the rest of it.
I just want to again say thank you, and I appreciate the information, and hopefully we'll do this on a regular basis, maybe not every year, but every couple of years, just so we know how we're coming along.
Okay.
Anyone else? I guess my thought too was it usually doesn't take 7 years, right? But because of you haven't been here since then, and I guess Barbara's the only one that was around when it was.
I actually believe that Chief Catalico did something regarding some kind of an update on the matrix system.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I just want to say, Chief, I really like this 3-beat system. I think that's going to be good, not only for the department, but it's going to be great for the relationship with our citizens and getting to know, like you said, the beat officers. So I want to give you some good credit on that, and I appreciate it. I wish we would have started before, but if we're getting it started, I think it's going to work well for our community.
Well, the system, as far as the boundaries, we have that, and I think as we go along, crime trends can change. Those beats were established for the different activity as far as for calls for service and criminal activity, so they could shrink or increase, or you could end up with a 4th beat depending on future years as far as the city.
So the 3 doesn't always have to be there. It could
Correct. And if we only have 2 officers and a sergeant working,
right.
The split beats, I would have 1 and 2, and the other officer would have 3 and 2.
Well, I just like the idea of our officers getting out and talking to the citizens, getting to know them on a one-to-one basis, and be that same officer. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I totally agree. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, well.
It's nice to see you going back to a community-oriented policing system again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we kind of wish we could implement the 12-hour one sooner than a year from now, but such is life with some things.
Mayor, I think I might be a comment.
I'm sorry?
There was a member of the public that was raising their hand for a
Okay,
comment.
well, I'm going to do, let's do the public comment, or do you want to do it? Has Liz done the public comment? All right, go ahead, Al.
That'd be related to the study.
Okay.
The study, yeah. Yes, come on up, Al.
Al Baldwin, one of the concerned citizens of Galt. First of all, I want to say you've got one of the best leaders you can get in the police department right now. This chief is so good, it's just amazing. The one thing I like about him is his attitude. It's really, really good, and he works very, very hard. And a lot of his decisions come from his heart and experience. One thing, though, tonight, since Measure R people have left, I think, yeah, we got one still here. Nothing was mentioned about Measure R recruiting and what you have to have before you can hire more Measure R people. And does the city have a full complement, I'd like to know if can be addressed, of officers before we can hire or even put more officers on Measure R? And if I heard you were trying to get 6 more officers or maybe even more positions, does that mean that the percentage of the general fund would go up if he wants more people? And if that's the case, to get more officers, you'd increase that, but it would still handicap the Measure R because you have to have a full complement here before you can do that. Now, if there's a glitch in the system, I don't know it. If there is, fine. I'm not against it. I'm just saying it should be brought up and maybe addressed, because nothing on Measure R except for the one where Officer Flutie was put in for Measure R, and I don't know if we have a full complement now to pay for that advance into Measure R. That's my only question. Okay?
Well, to answer that question, as far as Flutie was under Measure R. He was working as the school resource officer. When he came out of that position, his position was changed to general fund, and Sylvia was moved into Measure R. And the officers that we're hiring currently will be going into general fund to replace the people who left, including Lieutenant Updegrove, who just left within the last 2 weeks. So that's how we do it. As far as to replace, as far as general fund, before we actually have openings in Measure R. We have the dispatcher I talked about coming on June 10th. She'll be going under general fund. We have another dispatcher that's approved that we have one in background. Hopefully she'll make it through the process. And then when she comes on, she will be a Measure R dispatcher. So
Right now we have 6 Measure R police officer positions that are filled. And we have 1 vacant Measure R officer position that is vacant. And we have
Did one
4.
leave, or did we not?
We haven't filled it. We just added it this
It's
last
never
year.
been filled.
It's never been filled.
So we have 1 left.
Right.
And
Yep,
we
that would
have
give
a
us-
full complement.
That would give us 7, and that's what the original Measure R
Right.
expenditure plan said was 7 officers, so we're 1 short of that right
Exactly.
now. We're going to fill the general fund positions first,
Right.
and then we'll fill that
I just
Measure R
wanted
position.
to make that clear, because it wasn't brought up and it wasn't said, and I'm the jabber here, you know. I got a prod. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, now, Liz, the public comment, please.
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may address council on any agenda item during consideration of the item. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the city clerk. Lisa Klutz? Klutz, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Lisa Klotz, and I am the chairperson for Reopen Galt School Libraries. I came to you this evening. I know a lot of people come to you for requests and concerns, and I come to you this evening to thank you very much. That in July of last year, you were so kind to offer your support to our fundraising efforts for our schools by offering a proclamation of support for raising funds for the libraries. Through your initial and current and ongoing support, as well as many of the faces I see in this room tonight, I do want to let you know that we have achieved our goal, and that we are able to keep our libraries open until the end of the year, and working with the community, building relationships like we have had between the schools and the city and the community businesses and citizens, that we've been able to work together with the new federal grant that's come into our district, and we'll be keeping those libraries open for the next 3 years. So through your initial efforts, through your support, we made it happen, and I wanted to thank you personally.
And through your very hard work.
Hard
And I
work,
think
yes.
this deserves some applause here.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we were all Okay.
Al Baldwin?
You thought you were going to sit down.
Al Baldwin. Normally I come as a concerned citizen, city of character, but tonight I'm wearing a different hat. The president of the Galt Historical Society with a request, if possible. We're going to be putting up 4 plaques on January 1st. And Kurt Campion will be honoring us by installing them, drilling them, and making sure they're okay. And what I'm here tonight to ask you is if maybe we could have our mayor that would be at each one of these and read about each one of these as it goes on at 10 o'clock on June 1st, and it would be, pardon? Well, that's what I got was 10, but 11 o'clock then, okay. You're gonna, that'll be fine if it's 11 o'clock. It's gonna take approximately 2 hours. It's gonna take approximately 2 hours, and we're gonna start off with Grange Hall, putting that one, that'll be on, the plaque will be on there in the presentation. Then we'll go to Estrelita. Then we're going to go to the Don Ray building, and then to Brewster's. And by that time, if you're not exhausted or whatever, you could step into Brewster's and have a cool one, or maybe a hot lunch, or whatever you'd like to have. But I'm asking our mayor if she would be so kind to honor us by doing that.
That would be my pleasure.
Okay, we'll put you down at 11 o'clock.
Al, what was the date again?
June 1st, yeah, it's a Saturday.
What are we calling it?
What?
We're putting up the plaque?
Yeah, the plaques will be already put up when you get there, and we'll be okay. You're probably at the Grange if you want to drive over to the central Old Town, because it's right across the street from each other where the other 2 plaques are. You can just walk across the street, then drive over to Brewster's in the air-conditioned room, and we've made it available that you're going to have, you know, if you want to have a 7-Up or lunch, you could have one over there if you're tired.
Oh,
Well,
okay, I'm sorry.
Nevertheless.
What time, Kurt?
I was told 11 o'clock.
If it for some reason is 10 o'clock, I will definitely notify you of a change. I wasn't notified at 11. I was notified it was 10, so we're going to have a little controversy here. But nevertheless, the plaques will be up the day before. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. That's all for the speakers? All right.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? Dave's
wanna-
raising his hand.
Dave's raising his
Not the public. Sorry.
You-
Evening, council and everyone. Hope I didn't pull the speaker sheet. I didn't know I was going to come back up here, but something got to my attention during the discussion about the Measure R just before this topic. I believe this is online, the City Ordinance 2008-04. Is that on our website?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody out there, either at home or here, I'd like to ask them to please take a look at this ordinance of what the Citizens Oversight Committee for Measure R really does. It's on page 6 of 9, it says here, and briefly it outlines what we do at our committee and what we are allowed to do and what we are not allowed to do. So I would like to invite everybody out there to please take a look at this ordinance, because a lot of our conversation was about Measure R this evening, and probably there may be somebody wondering what we would do, and this will explain our duties and to report to the City Council. We do not tell the Chief of Police of Galt what to do, for instance, or we just are there to go over the figures, and we do have conversation and input and things of that nature. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, it's a good place to insert it instead of under my comments. We did appoint somebody to Measure R about a month ago, and unfortunately, certain circumstances, he's not able to serve on the committee, so we now have a vacancy. So I highly recommend everyone take a look at the committee, and if you're interested, definitely contact me.
Chief, excuse me, you mentioned that somebody was in the audience and we didn't recognize him. So was it a lieutenant that applied for the position?
Well, I probably slipped by telling you he was in there, but yes, a gentleman is here who has applied, and he'll be going through the next phase of the process.
Okay, am I to assume it's the gentleman in the back with the tie on? Okay. Okay, just wanted to acknowledge you and say hello. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're on to the information and consent calendar, and everything's okay except Liz is pulling May 13th to the June 6th meeting of the minutes. So would you like to read them all, please?
Okay, we have 4 items. Approval of the minutes of the special and regular meeting of May 7th, 2013. Approval of the City of Galt warrants. Schools Out Academic and Recreation Program, or SOAR, for a part-time sports coordinator position. And the approval of a Relay for Life proclamation.
Okay, council, do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. So now we're on to the City Council office. We're going to have a strategic plan report. I'm just going to kind of send it to others.
Oh, you are?
So we've got the first page up, which is a 3-year goal, enhance economic development, and that's number 2. By July 1st City Council meeting, the City Manager will present to the City Council for action the development agreement for the entertainment complex.
Okay.
Jason.
Yes, we've been working on this for quite a while. Obviously, the project's been stalled somewhat by the state's actions with the redevelopment elimination. There is the pending lawsuit right now between the city and the state of California. The hearing date set in July. There's also legislation that's moving through. Right now, it's in the Assembly, and hopefully that will clear the hurdles in front of it. And if either one of those is successful, then we'll have our bond proceeds able to proceed. We are planning on bringing forward the actual agreement for the council consideration in June. We have a draft that we've been working on with the developers. They're just doing some final review with their legal team, and we hope to have that available and back to the City Council for approval in June. It'll all be contingent on the funding availability, which should happen hopefully later this summer, but we want to at least get that in front of you and allow you to take a look at it, and that way, when the money does become available, we're ready to go.
Any questions, staff? Council?
I like the way you think, so when it becomes available.
Good job. Okay, now we're into the 3-year goal of improved financial stability and maintenance of reserves. When March 1st, 2013, the Finance Director will submit approximately 1.6 million ROPS, which is Recognized Obligation Payment Schedule, to the State Department of Finance to avoid a $10,000 a day penalty. We hope you did that, I know.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I did. We have not been fined. We will not be fined. But we actually on Friday did receive Department of Finance's final determination on this specific ROPS that you just read. And Department of Finance did continue to deny the successor agencies continued use of bond proceeds, which is one of the items that we did include in the ROPS, and staff costs incurred related to the bond project. So we anticipated that they would continue to deny those 2 items. The remaining items have been approved, and we expect that we'll be able to use the tax allocations that will be forthcoming. But we did have the meeting confer on in April, and they just issued their final determination just this past Friday. And as the city manager did indicate earlier, that we have already filed lawsuits, so we'll be pursuing that course of action since Department of Finance continued to deny our items as enforceable obligations.
What was the total amount that was denied?
Well, the amount of the bond proceeds that we showed on the ROPS was about $6.6 million, and the employee costs related to spending time on those bond projects is approximately $30,000 a year. We submitted $15,000 every 6-month period for the ROPS.
And why don't you give the council an update too? There's still one outstanding item that's being reviewed by the Department of Finance, and that's our due diligence review for the non-housing assets. We're still waiting to get their final determination, but that does potentially have some significant impacts to the city going forward, depending on the determination of the State Department of Finance.
That is probably a good summary right there. But the dollar amount that is in question right now, we were working with Department of Finance over a weekend, probably about a month ago, and they were still having some difficulty in analyzing the repayments that the redevelopment agency made to the city. We had several loans that the redevelopment agency, that the city made to the redevelopment agency. We actually started the repayment process. Department of Finance basically took the position that because we didn't enter into the agreements when the redevelopment agency was initially established, that these are not enforceable obligations and that repayments on those loans should not have occurred. And the amounts are over about $1 million at this point. So we have been spending a considerable amount of staff time generating reports, Q&A, over the phone. We have offered to meet with them, drive back to Department of Finance in Sacramento and go over the documents. But I know that staff members have been working countless hours on it. I know that we worked on a Friday night, Saturday, and a Sunday going back on the emails and reminding them that they still have this determination to issue for the city of Galt, but it is a material amount to the city, so we are spending the time necessary to be sure that they understand what happened, and we hope that they'll issue a favorable ruling.
Are those in various fund accounts, or is that mainly general fund? What type of funds?
Actually, there's two funds, I believe. One of them was the Fund 11, general government or impact fees, and the other one I believe that they were both impact fees. I believe there was about $62,000 that was a general fund amount repayment, but the majority of those loans came from impact fee amounts.
Any comments, anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on to provide services and facilities that are responsive to community needs. Okay, this is May 28th, City Council Budget Workshop. Public Works Director and City Manager will present at least 3 top priorities for addressing deferred maintenance of city building and facilities, including cost estimates. Mr. Winkler.
I'm getting the nod and the look, so I guess I'm going on this. This was a new objective that was just adopted in January, and I think there was a recognized need to look at our aging buildings and park facilities and identify some priorities. And so the short-term goal was to come up with at least 3 priorities and costs to go with them, as you read, and submitted, and we'll be talking more about, I believe, on May 28th with the budget in the capital improvement project. We've proposed 3 changes as mid-year new projects, which really would become our 3 top priorities for sort of urgent needs. And the first is a re-roof of a portion of the Municipal Service Center roof. This would actually be a repair on a prior repair that has not withstood the test, and we've budgeted $60,000. We're actually going to be doing a ongoing investigation to see if the original contractor can be held responsible, but if not, before we get into another winter and have further subject to further damages, we have put some money in the budget, but we've spent that only as a last resort. The second priority is various HVAC repairs, primarily at the PD is our top priority. They've got, I believe, some 28 individual units that cover different zones within the facility, and they're all showing some age. We had done some work to upgrade filters, but there was a lot of contaminants that were already out and stuck in the heat exchangers, and we've replaced several in the past 2 years, and we've got several more. In fact, we had an emergency repair. Is it corrected now. You're in your dispatch center. We had one of the units go out and had to do some emergency repairs, so that's going to be an ongoing task. We've set aside, or recommending that we set aside $30,000 for additional heat exchanger and filter replacements. And then lastly, we've had some problems with tiles at the Agora Aquatic Center coming loose. Our staff went in and did some repairs on the smaller juvenile pool, but the competition pool has quite a bit of tile that's going to need work. When they come loose, they leave sharp ceramic edges that, if you're in bare feet running around the pool, is not a good thing. So we did enough to get it open for the summer, but we need to go in after swim season, and we're proposing $42,000 as a first stage of a 2-year project to take care of the tile, and then we'd be coming back in the following year and looking at the plaster.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're done there. And we're going on now to, please, the City Manager's Office, the Joint Use of Facilities Agreement with Galt Joint Union Elementary School. Mr. Bailey.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. My pleasure to present this item to you this evening. Back in 1994, the City of Galt entered into a joint use facility agreement with the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District. Basically, it provides that both the city and the school district will make available to each other their facilities at no cost for the best interest of the community at large. Subsequent to entering into that agreement back in 1994, there were several specific use agreements that were entered into between the city and the elementary school district. The first was for the construction of Marengo Ranch Elementary School ball fields. That was done in 1997. The second one was McCaffrey Middle School athletic fields, construction and use, dated March 19th, 2002. The third one was the council chambers use, which is dated October 30th, 2008. Several months ago, staff at the city approached district officials relating to modifying some of these specific joint use agreements, and also taking a look at the specific arrangements that we had in place, specifically related to McCaffrey Middle School, the Northeast Sports Park, the maintenance of the fields there. The city was interested in taking a look at assuming the responsibility. The city owns those fields, the majority of those fields, and so we were looking at maybe some alternative arrangements relating to the maintenance of those fields. At the same time, we had a significant need for expansion of our own facilities. We're running out of space when it comes to the ability to provide special interest classes, recreation programs, and so we were looking to use more school facilities, and so we thought maybe there was a win-win there that we could negotiate and figure out a way that we could solve multiple problems by renegotiating and looking at these agreements, which is what we've done and which is what is presented to you this evening. I'll go through each of the different specific items that have been negotiated, and then we can allow the council to ask any questions as we go through or at the end. The first significant one is the renegotiation of the Northeast Sports Park, which is located adjacent to McCaffrey Middle School. That is approximately a 6-acre park. It has a baseball field, it has soccer field, there's a tot lot, there's a restroom, and up to this point, and under the current agreement, we split the maintenance responsibilities between the city and the elementary school district. The elementary school district is responsible for the turf largely, and the city is responsible for the ball fields, the infields, the restrooms, the tot lot, the parking lot, as well as some of the other ancillary landscape areas. Unfortunately, the district, because of budget cuts and whatnot, has not been able to maintain the turf areas up to the city's standards and according to the specs that were outlined in the agreement. They currently only mow it about twice a week. They only have one groundskeeper for all of their school facilities, and they just have not been able to maintain those. So I don't know if you've received calls or complaints, but I know I do on a regular basis, parents calling and complaining about kids out there playing soccer, stepping in holes and muddy, just very poor playing conditions out there. And it reflects poorly on the city, not because it's our maintenance responsibility, but because we own the fields. And most people don't care or know who owns the fields, who maintains the fields. They just know that they're a community asset, and they want to know why they're not up to you know, the proper standards of some of the other fields within the city. And so that's what kind of got the whole ball rolling, is whether we could come up with something that worked to do that. So the new agreement that we've negotiated shifts the responsibility of the turf maintenance from the school district to the city. The same relationship as far as who pays for the utilities, the water would remain the same, 60% the city, 40% the school district, but that we would have the ongoing maintenance responsibility of maintaining that turf. Because it is in such poor condition, we negotiated where the school district would pay to have it rehabilitated one time to bring it up to our conditions and our standards. So we would have a contractor come in and reseed it, returf it, and bring it up to where we can assume the ongoing maintenance once it was brought up to those suitable conditions. The cost estimate, we have received a quote, and it was less than $15,000. So we negotiated the $15,000 reimbursement amount based on the quote that we did receive. So we would hire a contractor to do the work, and then the school district will reimburse us for that work that's performed. And once that was done, then we would maintain the turf on an ongoing basis. The annual cost, based on the current costs we have per square foot basis to maintain the turf, if we give that turf maintenance work to our current landscape contractor, would be about $14,000 a year for the cost. In exchange for the city assuming this additional maintenance responsibility, we've negotiated the use, in some cases exclusive use, of several different facilities owned by the school district, which I'll go into now. The first, and probably the most important for the Parks and Recreation Department, was the expanded use of the McCaffrey Middle School gymnasium and multipurpose room. Right now we have a hard time finding enough gymnasium space for our recreational basketball programs, both youth and adult. And right now we use McCaffrey on a limited basis, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what they have scheduled. This new agreement guarantees us 5-day-a-week access, actually 6-day-a-week access during the basketball season, from 6 o'clock in the evening to 9 o'clock at night, and on Saturdays from 9 in the morning up to 6 o'clock in the evening. So our Parks and Recreation Department is very pleased to find out that, or to help negotiate that agreement that then guarantees us the use of those facilities during the basketball season. And also, there's provisions where we're going to get together with the school district twice a year to talk about other times that we would be able to use those facilities for some of our other programs, whether it's summer programs or other programs we have during the year. We have the need of a larger facility that we would be able to accommodate that through the use of this new facility use agreement. The next one that we've actually already moved in, because our Parks and Rec department was so anxious to expand some of our programs, where we took we have moved into 2 portable classrooms out at Fairside that are adjacent to our existing Cibola Center. We have a lot of our other classes, and we're attempting to make sort of a campus, a recreation campus, through these 2 facilities. So we have a mat room, which is now used for a variety of karate classes and gymnastics classes and things. We also have a classroom setting. Some of the classes being held in these facilities include Tai Chi, like I said, gymnastics, bunko senior cards, guitar, art programs, things we have planned for the summer and the future, music camp, science classes, adult art classes, and senior art classes. So we're getting a lot of use out of them. We have planned to have a lot more use in the coming months and years. So we've gone in and repainted and cleaned the carpets and really made it our own. We're in the process now of extending the current sidewalk that runs in between the Cibola Center and these new classrooms to make everything ADA accessible, so people will be able to park at Cibola or Fairside and go back and forth between the facilities and really have this recreation campus there, which I think is going to be really nice. And we've got a lot of good feedback from the instructors, from our staff, from the participants, that they really love having more classroom space available. So it's really been a great thing. The district will maintain, or will pay for the cost of electricity in those 2 facilities. We will do the general maintenance as far as vacuuming and keeping them clean, because we have exclusive use. So 100% of the time we can store our stuff there. Essentially our buildings that we will be able to have access to at all times. So it's always harder in some of the existing agreements that we have, is they kind of give us limited time, limited space. We're always moving in and moving out. It's really nice to have dedicated classrooms that we have 100% access to, where we can store stuff and just know that those are ours. We don't have to worry about conflicting times or events from the school district. Some of the other things we were able to negotiate is that probably the next big one is Marengo Ranch Elementary School. They're going to give us a classroom there that will again be exclusive use of the city, and our initial intent is to move our City Tots preschool program over there, which will finally give them a permanent home, so we don't always have to move the equipment in and out of the Littleton Center on a daily basis, which is a big maintenance concern from our staff. They're always going in there, and they don't really have, it's not their permanent home. They constantly, I think, get moved around. Sometimes we have to move them from there over to Cibola sometimes if there's events going on that conflict with the time on City Tots. So for them to be able to have their own space, to leave their stuff there, they're, I think, really excited about that. And then in the summer months, we're planning on using that for some of our summer programs and other things in connection with some of the other things that we want to do. So again, Parks and Rec staff is really excited to have another classroom. The other thing that's really neat and exciting about that is it'll be our first real permanent location on the northeast side of the city. All of our recreation programs, our facilities are on this side. This will be the first presence over there, and so we've heard some comments from parents that they really like the fact of having something over there finally. So that's a positive thing. Same kind of arrangement with Fairsight, where the district's paying the cost of the utilities. We will then upkeep and maintain the facility as if it were our own. The rest of the agreements, the specific site use, there's not a lot of changes. The responsibility for Greer Basin, responsibility for Marengo, all of those uses are going to remain the same, but they've been incorporated into this larger agreement. The term of the agreement is for 25 years through June 30th, 2038. Staff believes it's a great example of cooperation, continued cooperation between the city and the school district. It's a win-win. It addresses some of their needs with offloading some of their maintenance responsibilities of that turf into areas that we have more experience, more knowledge, more ability to perform, and using their facilities for our needs for our programs, I think is a really great, again, win-win in recognition. And the real benefit is the community that has more access to better fields, better access to more facilities, more classrooms, more programs. That's who really benefits and gains by this joint use agreement. The recommendation before you this evening is to adopt a resolution approving the joint use of facilities agreement between the city and the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District, and approve the budget change appropriating $15,000 for the turf rehabilitation with offsetting revenue provided by the district. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I think Councilmember Cruz had a question.
Go ahead, several.
Okay. Several.
I read through this that the district's going to give us 25 pounds of sports turf mix, but nothing's mentioned about field or anything of that nature. Is that covered in the $15,000 as well?
Yes.
And the big question for me is, we're already limited as far as our parks maintenance staffing. How are we going to pull this off?
This is contract.
So contract, our people aren't we doing it?
True.
Okay, because they're already stretched thin as it is.
Yep, that would just be added to the existing contract, or the contract that we have. We're actually in the process of renegotiating new contracts. That'll be brought back to you guys on June 4th, and that'll be added as part of that new landscape contract that we're negotiating.
So this is part of Professional, I think is the name of the company. Is that correct?
That's the current company that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Okay, could you read the...
Adopt a resolution approving the joint use of facilities agreement between the City of Galt between the city and the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District, and approve the budget change form appropriating $15,000 for turf rehabilitation with offsetting revenue.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. And I'm sorry, Councilmember Payne, I left out a page. I'm having one of these nights. I don't know. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to, on the last thing we had, I'm going to read what I left out, and then Councilmember Payne will, on the strategic plan, Councilmember Payne will talk after I say what it is. It won't be up on the screen, so please forgive me. May 31st, 2013, the police chief is the lead, with Councilmember Payne, the special projects administrator, will schedule, plan, and hold the annual safety fair, including May as Bike Month bike rodeo and an I Love My Park event.
Actually, that's the wrong one.
Are you kidding? It's all...
We were supposed to be talking about Walker Park, which is number 7.
Okay, well,
Okay. But it's not a big deal. And the special events administrator, Armando Solis, had thought it would be a good idea if I sort of shared with you the plans that we have working, but also see if the council wanted to add any ideas or share anything with us. So some years ago, we had a program called I Love My Park. And the goal of that was to get all the people to get out of their homes, meet at the park, and get to know one another. So this year we decided to try it again on a small scale. We did it, was it last Saturday or Saturday before last at Community Park with the National Safety Day?
It was the weekend before.
That was one of the I Love My Park projects. The other one is going to be at Walker Park, and it's scheduled for September the 7th. And if any of you have been to Walker Park, it has a definite theme, which is kind of a farm. Instead of riding horses, you ride a cow. You sit on bales, not real hay, but it looks like bales of hay. So the committee decided to call this event Country in the Park. And we're going to have vintage tractors and farm equipment on display. The Galt High School FFA department's going to come out and help. They're talking about bringing a cow to milk, a sheep to shear, and a spinning wheel. Susan Richardson has a real spinning wheel, so we're going to take the wool from the animal, and we're going to do some spinning stuff with it. We're looking at doing maybe some old-fashioned games that some of us old folks remember, you know, like hopscotch, some of those. Maybe.
Dried or wet?
And in addition to that, the Shop Local group has taken a part of it because we are not doing the Tuesday night market. So we wanted to give the vendors an opportunity to come out and show their wares. But the stipulation is they have to tie it into the country. So if you are, for example, L&S Appliance Repair, you can come out and advertise your service, but you got to bring a wash tub and an old, you know, well, you don't know, Sandy, those old things you to rub your clothes on, so we can keep the theme of the that we've got established. Farmers and Merchants Bank is going to bring a pony and a burro, and you can have your picture made with one of those. Digressing. Councilman Cruz is co-chair on that. Do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, we're also kicking off the recognition for the oldest businesses in town.
Very good.
The business at that point in time was going to be recognized to start off will be Robinson's Feed.
Very good. So we're really asking if you have anything you want to add to our plans, because we're a work in progress.
Can we have time to think about it a little bit?
Time's up.
And in my own, that was not what was highlighted for the report. So
you didn't get the memo.
I did not get the memo.
But she said it's been one of those times.
Yes, and I don't even know.
So yes, you can think about it, and we'd love your ideas.
Sounds good.
Oh, we're going to have a horseshoe competition, tossing, where we have review that. So yeah.
I don't know. My council member Singleton, they sound like a bunch of copycats about the. Can we get over of the Independence Day celebration first?
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is the city's going to provide 200 hot dogs for the first 200 that show up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But it says it's in July. Is it? When is it? It's going to be.
September.
It's going to be in September. Okay, so you do have a date. Okay. That's an FYI. Okay, and last but not least, award of contract for the Public Education and Government PEG funded City Hall Council Chamber sound system upgrade. And that goes to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Liz, can you bring up the number? This is something we haven't really
spoken much with council about over the past couple of years, the PAIC fee program. We're finally getting it really kind of engaged and in gear. As you've seen back here, the media control room is coming along. There's new walls in there, and there's equipment living in there. So I kind of wanted to just really quickly or briefly go over what's the PAIC fee about. PAIC stands for Public Education and Government. The PAIC fees were established through the Cable Communications Act of 1984 as a means to enhance the television broadcast of public events, such as these city council meetings. The fees that are collected for the grants come through cable television providers like Comcast and AT&T Uverse. So you see a $1 or $2 fee on your bill, and that's what this is going towards. The fees are usable to improve or enhance areas within the view of these cameras, and it's basically what the television audience out there sees in the world. So we can use that money for that. We can't really go outside of that. In the case of the media control room, we built walls because we needed to in order to put all the equipment and make it safe and secure. So in 2012-2013, for the fiscal year 2012-2013, the city requested $86,741 covering the new media control room wall structures, the sound system upgrade, which we're about to discuss, and the council chambers enhancements, which are coming. Sacramento Metro Cable also requested on our behalf $73,000 for the equipment that you see in the media control room. So both us and Sacramento Metro Cable can request these funds and kind of work hand in hand together to make it work well. In the coming year, we've requested an additional $155,710 to cover projection system upgrades, so the screens, the projectors that we have, to bring them into a high definition realm, and then lighting as well within the room. Sacramento Metro Cable, again, they're requesting funds to actually replace all of the cameras in the room and add a fourth camera, which will be high definition. Of our 2012-2013 project status, the media control room walls are done. The sound system replacement, I put it at 5% because we're just now awarding, and we've got 95% left to do. Council chamber improvements are basically at the same stage as Public Works is working through details with some of the changes that will be happening in here. With our sound system, we've got a handful of goals we were shooting for. One's to replace the aging microphones, the aging sound system components, the aging control components. Control components are things such as what Liz uses on the dais to flip the projectors on and off. Of course, we've had plenty of council meetings where sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. So we're trying to make sure that we've got good improvements going forward with the new system. Improve the audio clarity, so what we hear here in the room, but as well, more so what the viewers hear out on the television. Reduce interference when there's meeting changes. So one of the things that you notice is sometimes is, Liz will have to get up and adjust this or that. I have to get up and adjust this or that. Different people are doing different things. And so our goal was to try to reduce that interference and put more control within Liz's hands, right where she's at. So one of the things is we'll actually have a tablet-based function, so maybe an iPad or something of that nature, so you can actually control right there where she sits, or have the control come through her laptop. Either way, so kind of improve her functions. Everything that she does in the cabinet back here is all kind of controlled right there from her spot, as well as we have additional remote controls through the system. Another goal we had was with the control system is to have it be able to have future expandability and capabilities. A lot of these control systems have the capability to not only control the sound system, but control all the audio-video feeds, like the projectors, as well as your lighting throughout the room. So the moment that Liz might hit a button on her iPad, that button might be set for presentation mode. So how she normally stands up, goes over, adjusts things in the cabinet, adjusts light switch, all that sort of stuff, in one button, it'll all drop to where the lights are now dimmed, the projectors are on, sound system set right, all those sort of things. Just really automate the system. If you've come into the council chambers
On a dark day, and it's dark in here, it depends on which door you go to. The lights aren't necessarily easily turned on because there's a set of light switches over here and a set of light switches over there, that sort of stuff. The control system will actually have modules by the door in the future. And this is not on this funding now, but in the future, that control system will also be able to control the light system each one of the doors, so you'll be able to get all the lights in the room easily. To kind of improve the safety in the room as well. And that kind of covers providing the enhanced control management. We designed the RFP in a manner to provide these results, and I think we've succeeded at doing that. When we get to changes, the microphones that you see on the dais today, they will change a little bit in appearance. Still working with the vendor on which particular model. One of them is a mobile model. You can actually move it around on the dais. The other is embedded. That's the one that's on the left-hand side. Both have buttons on them which have voting capability. So in the future, again, this is an expandable option. It's not something that will be within this purchase. The base unit will have the buttons, but the software won't be there. But when it comes time for voting, you will actually be able to hit a button, and it automatically registers your vote. That shows on the screen. It also shows on the SAC Metro feed and the live internet feed. So not only in the room do you hear and see all the votes going on, but you actually see it electronically as well. So it's kind of a nice additional feature. There's a little video talking about it. Can you turn the volume, Liz? Is it up?
The HCS 4330D/50. The 4330 offers all of the features you would come to expect from a world-class manufacturer of conferencing systems. Detachable gooseneck microphone, the onboard loudspeaker, mic on-off button, and of course all of the other options like language interpretation and electronic voting. We'll get back to that voting topic, but first, something you probably haven't seen from any conference system.
Gain control on each and every microphone. Now with just the click of a mouse, you can adjust the gain and the EQ for each station live. Which means if you're in charge of, say, a city council session, and a council member decides to lean way back in their chair, all you need to do is simply come here and adjust the gain.
What that means is that you can have control over your audio signal for your house system, for your cable broadcast system, for your recording system, even your internet streaming system. Just as you would with a large format audio console, except that it's all right here on your laptop. Also on that laptop are the controls for voting, which we had started to mention earlier. Below the mic on-off button, you have 5 options for voting, with the most common use being yes, no, and abstain. But because of the extra buttons, you have extra options, like multiple choice and opinion polling.
While the council members are voting, the Titan software is sharing and collecting data. It's sharing the agenda information over a video signal to the council chamber, and is collecting the vote results in real time. When the vote is complete, you can publish the results directly to the council chamber over that same video signal, and also archive this information in a report.
And I remind you that this is all being accomplished by one Titan system, with powerful yet flexible software, and this, the workhorse of the Titan line of wired conference solutions, the HCS 4330D/50.
So that's the the microphone-based portion of the system, and it's expandable. We can grow into it. It's got a lot of capabilities, a lot of features. The base system we're buying initially, again, doesn't have the software to run all the buttons and everything behind the scenes. It's really feeding what we have today, but it's very expandable. I was told from the vendor that this is actually the same system that the United Nations uses. So not that we're really growing to be that big, but it's kind of nice to know that we're able to afford that type of system based on the grant fees that we receive from PAG. The next component is what I was talking about with Liz, where she can sit and control a touch panel from where she sits. The touch panel not only will have the capability of controlling the lights and the audio system and everything else, it has also the future capability of tying into the HVAC system. So she could theoretically adjust the temperatures in the room or that sort of stuff as well from her location. And again, this is not in the initial funding. This is just expandability where it can grow to. But we've kind of aimed the system to be able to do a lot of stuff for us. One other video, and there's no speaking on this, but this is a boardroom where they've set up a system using these controls, and you'll actually watch the individual walk in here. He's going to hit a control panel on the wall, and it's going to completely adjust everything in the room. So you notice that the button said desktop presentation mode, you hit it, now the screens are dropping, the lights are beginning to dim, and projectors are turning on. So that automatically adjusting the room in one shot as opposed to having to hit lots of different buttons. So not only are we getting improvements to the sound system and control system, but we're actually increasing our ability to keep things moving through these units. Behind the scenes, we are also replacing all of the amplifiers, all the control components that live in this cabinet and below this cabinet. Those will all be moving into the new media control room, and the microphones obviously in the dais will all be replaced and the wiring throughout the dais. And that's kind of our core strategy to cover at this point. We're not replacing the speakers within this round. That may be the future, but generally speakers are fairly good at the controlling devices on the speaker. We're working on it. So with that, I'm going to move on and open it up to questions.
Questions, council?
Okay.
I was just going to ask for a quick summary on the purposes of the benefit of the audience, the difference between the two contractors and why you chose, is it Spinatar?
Spinatar?
Yeah, over Associated Sound. I think that's because you had a lower bid, and I think that's important to know.
Briefly, very briefly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and sum it up in two words: future and expandability. The Spinatar, they're very much focused towards where we're moving. Associated Sound is very much staying with today, and so that's kind of what helped us drive towards one versus the other. Capabilities of the system on the Spinatar system are far advanced of the Associated Sound. So the small difference in price overall is worth that investment.
Good.
Mark?
I like the overall. There's one thing here that keeps sticking with me over and over and over again. It's a word I hate to see, especially in contracts, and it says assumptions. Could you explain that to me? So we're assuming they're going to do things for us? There's nothing in the contract saying so? I'm referring to all conduits provided and installed by others. Page 2 of 4.
What page, Mark?
I can help you out with that. What you're seeing is the proposal that was submitted by Spinatar, and they're stating the assumptions that go with their bid.
So they're assuming that someone else is going to put this in, or they're going to do it?
I think some of the assumptions reading they have proposal assumptions and then things that are excluded and things that are included, and they're just characterizing what their bid is. And
Yeah.
let Matt.
Okay, my question here is then, there will be conduits and so forth put in here. They are part of the total package.
If there are any necessary, they will be covered. However, at this point, we have full conduit structure going all the way from the point in the media control room all the way out through to the dais. So
except for the rat's nest down here.
Except for the rat's nest down there, but that will be taken care of.
Thank you.
For the sound system. If there's other cables on the dais that are not the sound system.
I'm reading it's
that's
low
different.
voltage only, so I assume that. Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to review the funding. We received a grant for $86,000, is that correct?
Yes.
And now we're asking for an additional $50,000, or is that part of the grant? Or
An additional $50,000.
$49,996.98.
No, we're not asking. That is part of the grant. The $49,000 is part of the $86,000.
So it's really not costing us anything.
It's not costing the city anything.
Okay, I like
Well, which it wouldn't either, because anyway, because it comes from,
It comes from the
it doesn't come from the city, it's funding that comes elsewhere.
right. And if we don't use those funds, then some other city in the Sacramento County region is going to use those funds, and our taxpayers are paying those fees in their Comcast or UVerse bills. So something to keep in mind.
I just wanted to be clear that all these nice things we're not having to pay for.
Yes.
Okay, well, directly.
Yes, Councilmember Singleton.
Matt, what is the life expectancy of this new equipment? And if the warranty on that equipment, how would we get those replaced or repaired?
Okay. The life expectancy on the equipment, each piece is going to vary.
Okay.
There's a lot of factors that go into life expectancy on a piece of equipment. How it's treated, the conditions it's operating under. The tablet, for instance, that would be controlling things, that might get abused more than a piece of equipment sitting in the rack. So the tablet is a smaller, tighter box. It's going to run hotter. Its life expectancy is going to be much shorter of an item sitting in the rack. The equipment that we have in the racks now is between 7 and 10 years old, and it's still functioning today. However, we are having issues, and that's probably about the average life of most audio equipment is 7 to 10 years. 10 years in that range to get really valuable use out of it. Audio equipment tends to run longer than a computer, for instance.
Right.
But the tablet, for instance, is going to be a smaller device that's going to run for a shorter period of time. So I wouldn't project its life expectancy to be way out there. From a warranty standpoint, most of the equipment is 3 to 5 years in warranty. I got an email back from the vendor today, and he's broken out each one of those warranties as to for each particular equipment. Spinatar's warranty on their service and workmanship is for 1 year. After that period, we would need to request their service, or pay for a service agreement with them if we wanted them to continue on after that first year.
Okay, that was kind of my question, is what happens after a year and their warranty is done, and we have maintenance issues or a motherboard burns out, something to that effect. So.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Liz, could you please read the recommended action?
Adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Spinatar in the amount of $49,996.98 for the purchase and installation of sound system equipment for the council chambers.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote, please. Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, city clerk's report.
Just a couple reminders. There's a Commission on Aging meeting on May 23rd at 5:15 p.m. in the California Room. On May 27th, city offices will be closed in honor of Memorial Day. There's a special city council meeting to review the budget at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers on May 28th. There is a Galt City Council Youth Committee June 3rd at 6 p.m. in the council chambers, and that brings us to our next city council meeting.
Okay, comments by staff?
None for me.
I have an announcement. As of Saturday, it appears that we have our new canine. As you're aware, after Kevin Pond's death, there were several fundraisers in coordination with the Foothill Canine Association. They did have enough money to purchase a dog. We actually went to Southern California and found a dog. Was actually first choice of another agency, and we kind of beat them to it. So we now have a new K-9. We have several weeks of training for the officer. The dog is in fact trained, but the officer isn't. So we're looking probably somewhere in the area of 7 to 8 weeks, depending on when we can arrange that. The animal's name is Castor, C-S-T-O-R, and he will be part of the department shortly as soon as we can get the officer trained and him trained with the officer.
Yay, that's great news. Great, great news.
I would just like to do a little shout out to Public Works employees. It's National Public Works Week this week, and if you can all think a little bit when you go home and your lights come on and you hit a switch, and your garbage can, the garbage fairies make all the garbage go away overnight sometime this week, and your sprinklers work and your water faucets work when you turn on the faucet, and the throne room makes other things go away when you hit the little silver knob, and those are all the result of major infrastructure systems. You're able to drive on nice interchanges to get to the council meeting tonight, and so a lot of hard work goes into that and keeping it maintained and keeping your parks up. And so I'd just like to mention that our crews do a lot of work behind the scenes to keep all that working, and we just kind of a week we recognize them and the work that they do to keep the city vital.
Anyone else? Jason, Steve? Okay, shaking your heads. Okay, comments by City Council. I'll start with Council Member Campion. Okay, that was quick. Council Member Cruz?
Not a thing.
Council Member Payne?
Well, just briefly, the Galt Youth Committee had their retreat out at McFarland Ranch. It was a great day. We got there for breakfast, stayed for lunch. Mayor Powers came out and made them feel really smart and welcome and everything. City Clerk Liz McGuire came out and told them how they're supposed to act as a representative of the city, and she did it very diplomatically. John Duran did a team building exercise, and after that we put together our strategic plan for the upcoming year. Had a great time. Thank you for coming out.
And a great group of kids. Great group of kids.
I think so.
Councilmember Singleton.
I did have one issue, one question.
Sorry, Tony.
No, we got the email from Liz, and she had sent out a request for assistance tomorrow with the senior project review.
Yes.
They had contacted me, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I signed up, and I just want to make sure everybody got the email, and if they're able to go, I think it's a very worthwhile thing.
And did you RSVP with the school?
Yes, I did. I did.
Directly.
And I'm sorry, but I already have other commitments. I would have loved to have gone, but
Some senior projects.
Thanks. Okay, Council Member Singleton.
I saw Castor on Saturday. He's a great-looking dog. He's got one floppy ear, so I think I'm going to call him Flip, but very good-looking dog. I want to thank the chief. We had a Strawberry Festival over the weekend. The chief came out and personally accepted a banner that went around town here in Galt. Everybody signed in memorial to Kevin Tom. So thank you, Chief, for being there and accepting that banner from the citizens and everybody involved with it. It was a great turnout. The mayor was there. She opened it up for us, and Councilman Cruz was there to give the flags back to returning soldiers from Afghanistan. I think it was 3 total, and their families were there to accept the flag that we've been running on the bridge here on C Street. And I want to thank you guys so much for being there and being part of the Strawberry Festival. I think it was a good turnout. I want to thank the Chamber for doing a very good job, and the people, staff that worked that, just hard workers. They were just at beck and call. They were on top of it, and I think that's about it. Thank you.
Chief, when was your, did we already talk about your event, the dinner?
No, we didn't.
At the last meeting?
No, it was actually a week ago Friday.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to talk about it. What was the night of what?
Night of Honor.
Night of Honor. It was a great evening. I had a wonderful time. There was goodness and sadness and all kinds of different things. I want to commend you for making this the first annual, and I really hope it continues. And I know there was a lot of work involved into it, but it was really, really a very nice event, and I really enjoyed going to it. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, and I will make sure that everybody who worked on that is told as far as council's thanks.
And I think that's it for me. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.